Okay, so we've learned about power passing devices as far as a light switch is concerned and a couple relays here. But how would this work out in the real world? And if you were out in the field and you're on a service call, what if you come across something that isn't a switch or isn't a relay? What if you come across something that looks like this? This is a high pressure cutout switch. And what that means is you would have this end of the switch brazed into the high side copper line, and this switch is meant to protect your compressor. So if the pressure in the system gets to a certain point or past a certain point, this opens up, the switch opens up, and the power is disconnected to the compressor, saving it from burning out. Now, you might see all different types of versions of these. This one, like I said, is a high pressure cutout. They have other ones that look just like this, but it's a low pressure cutout, so that your system does not get below a certain pressure. You also have fan cycling switches that look just like this, that will cycle your condenser fan motor on and off depending on whether it needs more cooling or less cooling, whether you need to reject more heat out of the refrigerant or less heat out of the refrigerant. Maybe it's cold outside, so you don't need to run your fan motor. So this switch opens up and shuts the power off to your fan motor, and then once the pressure builds up to a certain point, then it closes again and allows the fan motor to come back on to cool and reject that heat out of the refrigerant. So, how does it work? Well, again, this would be brazed into the high side line on your refrigeration system or your air conditioning system. And just like your light switch here, you have an on-off switch. This is your on-off switch on your light switch. This green section here with the wires coming off is your on-off section of your high pressure cutout. So, how do you check that? Well, just like one of the ways we test our switch, you test it with continuity. So, like our switch, when we are in the off position, we get no continuity. When we are in the on position, my probe came off, we have continuity. So, being that this is a high pressure cutout, that means it is going to be in the on position until we reach a certain pressure. So if we were to put our leads on these wires, because we're in the on position, we should hear an audible tone. Whoops, my wire probe came off the wire again. And we do. So that means power can pass through this switch and go to the compressor and power our compressor. Now, once the switch reaches the pressure that it closes at, or that it opens at, I'm sorry, then we would read across these terminals and we would get nothing. So if you had a bad high pressure switch, basically you could probably check it with the system not even running. You would just take the ends of these wires, and they're going to be wire netted together or connected in some way to the system, because you're going to have power just like you have power coming in here and power coming out here. You're going to have power coming in here and power going out here. This is only controlling one leg of your power, the hot side of your power. So you would take your connections loose so that you just have the ends of the wires here, and with the system off, if it's a high pressure switch, you would check. And if you don't read anything, that means the switch is open, and that's why you're not getting power to your compressor. So that's one example of a real world situation, and that's where a lot of students start to begin to get confused, because they can't transfer what they're learning here or what they're learning here to this. When you see something different, and when it doesn't look like this and it doesn't look like this, then your mind starts to play tricks on you, and you start to freak out and go, what the hell am I supposed to do now? And all you have to remember is that this, just like this, is a power passing device. Just like this is a power passing device. So if you think of this as a light switch, you'll be fine. If you think of this as a light switch, you'll be fine. That's why it's important to know the very basics of how things work. If you know how a light switch works as a power passing device, then you should know how this would operate as a power passing device.